Okay, so we are going to do week 6 for the course that I'm teaching at U of T. Now, this is the information that is after the midterm. And on week six is a little unusual because we're finishing off the Miller and Modigliani case by doing case number 3. So we did it, case 1 and 2 in week 5. You can review that if you have forgotten those. And then we'll talk about a couple of other things about debt. Bankruptcy, which is caused by debt or could be caused by debt, and then also the characteristics of debt. So let's go over case 3 first. Now, just as a very brief refresher, I'm not going to go over the formulas because you can watch the week 5 videos if you would like to do so. If I look at the M&M model, the case 1, the conclusion. So the case 1 was no tax and no bankruptcy. The conclusion was there is no optimal capital structure. Okay, so it's not realistic, but what it says is it makes no difference how much debt that the company has. It could be 90% debt or 10% debt, doesn't change the value of the company. And the reason it's unrealistic is because the assumptions are unrealistic. There are taxes in the world. So case 2 says taxes exist, but it's not possible to go bankrupt. Okay. So conceptually, there's formulas in this one, which I won't go over now, but what this is saying is you would maximize debt. And that sort of makes sense, because if you were told that, hey, you can take as much debt as you want and you never really need to repay it, what should you do? You would maximize your debt. Case 3 is what we're going to talk about now. So there's no formulas as such in case 3, but this is the most realistic one. So this is where taxes exist and bankruptcy is possible. And the conclusion of this is that each company has a unique capital structure, or unique optimal capital structure. Okay, so there is a debt to equity ratio that is best for the company if they want to maximize their value. But it's not a formula. It's different for each company, and you have to figure it out. And essentially the way they illustrate this is if we look at the 2 charts for the M&M model. I'll draw one on top of the other, and the top chart is value and the bottom chart is the cost of capital. And the horizontal axis in both cases is the debt to equity ratio. So this is proposition 1. This is proposition 2, if you want to use the terminology of the model. Proposition 1 is you want to maximize the value. And this is the chart that comes out of case 3. And for case 2, this is the chart for cost of capital. And if I draw it right, the way it's supposed to be is that the same debt to equity ratio is going to be the optimal for both. Okay, so at this debt to equity ratio, you will maximize the value and minimize the cost of capital for a firm. And that's essentially what you want to do. Okay, now, why does it go down and why does it start going up? Let's look at this part here. This part where the cost of capital is going down. This is caused by the benefits of debt. Okay, so the benefits of debt is essentially that the taxes are lower because interest is tax deductible. And also, debt is cheaper than equity. So the more debt you're adding, the lower your average is becoming. Okay, so adding debt is lowering the cost of capital in this case. But then at some point, it starts to increase. And this is reflected by this range here. And the book calls this financial distress costs. And essentially what this is saying is that at a certain point of debt, your creditors and shareholders all start to worry that this company has a lot of debt, and your cost of debt goes up, cost of equity goes up because shareholders don't want to invest anymore. They might think you might go bankrupt, and it starts going up. So you want to keep increasing debt until the benefits are finished, but you don't want to go into that red zone. So if we do a summary of all of this, and if I break down the cases, so I'll call this Proposition 1, the value, and Proposition 2 is the cost of capital. Okay. And let's just look at what each of the cases says. So case 1, case 2, and case 3. So no tax, no bankruptcy. And this one is taxes exist, but there's still no bankruptcy. And the last one is the most realistic one. You have tax and you have bankruptcy possible. Okay, so if we were to put it in a chart form, in this case it says that there is no optimal capital structure. So it makes no difference what your debt to equity ratio is. The value of the company will not change, cost of capital will not change. In this case, you want to maximize debt, and I'll put an asterisk here that there's formulas for this one. And in this case, you have a unique optimal capital structure. And since it's unique to each company, essentially there's no formula for calculating this one.